everybody, it's Misty, aka Frankenbelly. I have not been on in a hot minute. I have been really busy with life. The last couple years have been a lot of ups and downs, and I have just been keeping it moving, and I got some time to sit down and do some advocating and some things like that that I haven't been able to do in a while with the rush of life. And I've noticed I've had a huge influx of people coming to my weight loss support group on Facebook, which is called Gastric Bypass Takedown and Reverse Support. So if you've had a reversal or takedown, they're the same things, just different names. One's old school, one's new school. Or you're looking at having it due to complications from weight loss, or even, as I said, you're researching it because you're looking into gastric bypass. I was thinking a lot last night, and I was like, I always get all these questions from new members, and I get a lot of messages on the messenger because they see my other videos when they're doing research. And first, I want to say I am so happy that people are actually doing research and looking into these surgeries, because I feel like the more you know, the better to make your decisions and fully understand if stuff starts to go wrong, what you're looking at and, you know, what you need to do. So I wanted to talk about some things that you should probably think about before deciding gastric bypass. Okay. I guess, you know, I'm not a doctor by any means. I had gastric bypass in 2006. I started struggling probably around 2010. And it proceedingly got worse until 2013 when I had my reversal. So I did a lot of research between 2010 and 2013, as much as I could possibly find, because there is not a lot of studies on people like us. And you will notice, if you've had this surgery, you're usually told by the doctors that you're the 1%er. With some of these conditions I'm going to talk about, you are definitely not the 1%er. And you'll see that as you're looking through the Facebook group if you're in it. So I guess that's always the first question I get was, what was the reason? What was your reasoning? Are you having this weight loss surgery because you don't feel good in your skin, so it's for self-esteem? Are you having it because you have core mobilities, which I would hope for this surgery that you do have something like that, so it is worth it. Because if you have nothing in your line, like me, I was 26 years old. Yeah, my cholesterol was a little bit elevated. My pre-diabetic, they said you could possibly be, but it wasn't in the area of being diabetic or anything like that. I had nothing. It's called insurance approval, and they're going to cut you open and take your money, okay? And I'm me. I'm going to be real. I'm just going to tell you like it is. So, what is your reasoning? You got to have a reason, right? So I'm going to tell you what my reasoning is. So my reasoning was, I come from a line of obese in my family, obesity. And when my child was 5 years old and went to kindergarten, that was the first time that he really noticed that his mommy was overweight. And I had taken him to school and dropped him off. And when I had picked him up that afternoon, some kids must have made comments to him, because he grabbed my belly and said, "Mommy, why are you fat?" So for me, this caused a lot of mental grief, because I had tried several different things and nothing seemed to work. My skinny friends I'd work out with, they would lose weight and I wouldn't. So my fear was health complications from being overweight. I needed to get healthy, and this was a new thing you were seeing commercials about on TV And I went to the doctor, and it was pretty simple. I have military insurance, and I didn't even have a psych review or anything. I went, got approved, and went and met a surgeon, and 2 weeks later, I was having surgery. So my mind was just get healthy for my children so I can live a long life. And probably a little bit of, I don't want to embarrass my children. I don't want to be the fat mommy. So that was my reasoning. So everybody has a reasoning. If you have serious health conditions, then you may need to weigh your risk. But I would say also look at your age difference too. If you're 19 years old and you have this surgery and you start having complications down the road, that's a long time to live with some of the complications this surgery can carry. If you're 45, 50 years old and you need this surgery to survive, then it might be an option for you. So those are questions that you really need to think about and ask yourself when you're looking into getting gastric bypass. So the other thing I get asked a lot is, what is gastric bypass? People don't really understand what it is or what it does to your digestive tract. I didn't really understand what it did. I knew it gave me a little pouch and I wasn't going to be able to eat as much. That's basically what I knew. So gastric bypass, pretty much, they take your stomach, they cut out a little pouch, they put your stomach off to the side. It'll be sutured shut, so it kind of lays off to the side. And why they call it Roux-en-Y is because they reverse the intestines. So they're going to move that small intestine over to that pouch, and they're going to hook it up. So that way, when you are eating food, you're going to malabsorb that food super quick. That's why a lot of people, after they have the weight loss surgery, can fall into alcoholism. And that's because literally I would have 1 glass of wine and I was good for a couple hours. So everything goes through transit super fast. So your body is not absorbing what it needs. This is how you start ending up with deficiencies, malnutrition, malabsorption over time. Your body is not made to be like this. This is not the way we're made. That's not how our digestive tract works. So when you alter it, there are complications that come as a possibility with it. But they're not going to typically tell you about those things. So you can look up online anywhere and you can see like pictures. I mean, YouTube now, you can watch full out surgeries. So you can get a better idea of what the Roux-en-Y is. So what are some risks? So there's 2 types of risks, right? We have short-term risk and we have long-term risk. We have surgical risk and we have non-surgical risk. So let me tell you first off, most bariatrics, and I've been to several, and some very good ones at some very good universities throughout my complications, they are going to tell you the surgical risk because they are a surgeon. I have seen, doing some research online, that some of the clinics, like the Mayo Clinic, the Ohio Clinic, some of them have gotten better at saying some of the other complications, but the complications that you're signing the forms for and the complications that you're looking at are going to be surgical. So they're going to tell you possible you could have a leak. You could have a leak, you could have a tear, you could bleed. So, you have to sign for a blood transfusion. You could have hernias, things like anything that has to do with surgical, what they're doing. You could have a suture break. I mean, these type of things are what they're going to go over and what they're going to tell you. Most surgeons will also tell you protein. You got to have protein for the rest of your life, which is true. Your body needs protein. So they'll probably most likely tell you that. Those are pretty much short term because you're going to have the surgery, you're going to heal up. If you don't have any of those issues, it's going to be short term. Now, hernias, on the other hand, those are not short term, those are long term. I literally had 3 of those throughout my time. The only reason why I stopped getting hernias I had to figure out must have been my reversal, because I haven't had one since 2014. So those are kind of your short-term risk. Your long-term risk, some people start having these right away out of surgery, but I've noticed a lot of people, it's like 2 to 4 years, sometimes 10 years out, people will start having them, okay? So you're gonna have to start looking at deficiencies. This is why it's so important that when you have bariatric surgery, you go every single year and see your bariatric doctor and have your labs done, okay? I've had a reversal. I don't go to a bariatric anymore, but I get my bariatric labs done every single year. Haven't had one issue since reversal, but I manage myself and keep an eye on my labs because the fear is always there. So anemia. Anemia, I got about 4 years out. It feels absolutely horrible. Was not told anything about these complications that I'm going to talk to you about, okay? So this is the kind of anemia that when I went and saw a hemo doctor on base, I was told, oh, you had gastric bypass. Yes, I did. Your body has stopped absorbing iron. And I said, well, what do you mean? I take iron pills every day and a multivitamin. Well, with gastric bypass, he explained to me, sometimes with the way that you're rerouted, your body just stops absorbing. So you can no longer get it from a pill. You can no longer get it from food, which I was under the assumption that I just ate the foods and took all the vitamins, I'd be good, okay? So anemia is one that I had to go on infusions for, and it got worse and worse. It went from 6 months to 3 months to, I think I was down to 2 weeks before my reversal. So you got anemia. You have dumping syndrome. A lot of people will get that if they are eating too much sugar, too much carbs after the surgery, and not enough protein. But there are people like me that followed the regimen, and I literally ate lettuce, chicken. That's about what I was down to before my reversal, and I would dump. And this didn't start for me until 7 years out. 7 years out, every bite I put in my mouth, which was all healthy, I would dump. This would cause me to be in the bathroom. It could cause you to pass out. It can cause sweating. It can cause shaking. It has all different types of symptoms, and it goes along with post-bariatric hypoglycemia, which, let me tell you right now, is the absolute devil. I literally went from working full-time to having to close down my daycare, stay home, eat what I could eat, spend my days in the bathroom, try to not pass out, lost my license. When I tell you, I'm not kidding. It is miserable and out of control. You put one bite of food in your mouth and it instantly goes up and then it crashes. And it's a repeated cycle all day long after you start eating. I spent time in and out of the hospital. It took forever to get diagnosed with it. This was with the endocrinologist, but finally, there's some testing they can do. So, yeah, post-bariatric hypoglycemia, PBH, reactive hypoglycemia, you'll hear it called. You don't want to mess with those. Those are possibilities. As I talked about before, hernias, those can happen long-term. Bowel obstructions, I had a couple partial bowel obstructions with my hernia repairs. The only way they were able to find out that I had these issues was to actually surgically go in and look. I had pains and things like that. They could not find them on any scans. So a lot of the testing they do, they couldn't. They had to go in and do exploratory surgery, find it, fix it, and come out. The deficiencies go on and on. Right away, pretty much probably about 2 years out, I noticed I was getting a lot of leg numbness, and it was B1 deficiency. So I went on B1, towards my reversal B12, and you can get infusions for those. Your calcium, your vitamin D, those are definitely things that they got to look at too. as I mentioned before, your iron, and you want to make sure that they're not just looking at your iron panel. For gastric bypass people, they need to be looking at your ferritin. Okay, your ferritin goes along with the iron, and that's what you really need to be watching for anemia. What else? So neuropathy. I've had people that I know that have had reversals for neuropathy. They literally get to the point where they cannot walk because their B deficiencies are so bad that they've had to have a reversal to fix those issues. There's some really dangerous long-term complications that can come. And I'm not here to say that everybody gets them, because I know they don't. And that's the reason why I created my own support group, because when you go on the pages where everybody doesn't have any issues, they can be really rude and mean to people when they start talking about the negative. But let me tell you, once they start having some type of complication, they're going to go looking for help. And that's why I advocate and make these videos. The list goes on and on. You can look it up. There's a ton of long-term things that can come from this surgery. But I feel like those are some pretty serious ones. And definitely something that you need to consider and think about, because they're not going to really talk about those things unless you bring it up. Because how would they know that you would know those things, right? So I would always, when you're going in to meet bariatrics or deciding on this surgery, one thing I would ask them that obviously I didn't think about as a 26-year-old is, what will you do to help me if I have complications? What is your aftercare plan? If I start to have dumping, what will you do? Well, are you going to try to send me to someone else? Are you not going to see me anymore because I'm having complications? Because we see this so much in the weight loss world that people start having complications. Nobody knows what to do. None of the tests are coming back showing anything wrong unless you get to the point where your labs are finally starting to show. And it's a real struggle. For me, I hadn't seen my bariatric in years because I had moved to a different location in California. I was being seen by the bariatrics on the base. They didn't know how to treat me. I was in and out of the hospital. I pretty much got told, like, go away. You got to go find someone that can help you. And when I got really bad in 2013 and I started reaching out to bariatrics, I had one bariatric that I was really interested in going in to see, that flat out looked at my charts, looked at my story, and said, if you do not get a reversal, you are going to die. However, he could not do my reversal because he was not covered by my insurance. So that was very scary because I didn't have the money to pay for the reversal. We had really good insurance through the military. So I had to start calling around to doctors, and people did not want to touch me because I was told, you're the 1%. As I'm doing research on YouTube and I'm meeting people and I'm starting to do research, and I'm finding out that there's a thing called a reversal or a takedown. And I find this lady's story on YouTube, and she has dumping and bariatric hypoglycemia and has a reversal, and it reverses everything. I started compiling my research. So in the meantime, I reached out to my original bariatric doctor. And when I called his office, they wanted me to come in. Now, granted, I was like 6 hours away because I lived in Northern California and he was in Southern. At this point, me and my husband was desperate, and he was like, I will drive you anywhere. So I went back for a visit, and you know what he wanted to do? Band-aid it. That's what they want to do. They're called revisions. Okay? Revisions I call band-aids. So since I had the dumping, he wanted to go in and put a band over the top of my stomach to slow it down. So when food was coming down, I wouldn't dump. Like, it would hold it longer and hopefully keep my sugars up. And that's what he wanted to do. And I went home and I thought about it. And I continued to lose more and more weight, getting down to 116. I looked like a skeleton. I was 5'5". And as I was doing my own research from home, because I didn't want to die. I did not want to die. That was not the reason for this surgery. It was to live, to be healthier. I said no. So I wrote a letter back to his office and I said, I would like to be seen for a reversal. He kind of thought about it, said, come back in, let's talk again. Another trip down. Okay. When I seen him, he says to me, oh, I see you did your research. I brought in a whole stack of stuff I brought in. I said, listen, this worked for this lady. Now, granted, I went to a bariatric surgeon in Southern California that had performed over 10,000 gastric bypass. This was 2013. I finally looked at him. I said, can you help me or can you not help me? Can you do the surgery or can you not do surgery? And he had such an ego, he just kind of laughed it off and said, I've done surgeries that are way more complicated than a reversal. He's like, if I can take you apart, I can put you back together. Now, granted, I liked his confidence, but he had never done one before. But he had told me about some other surgeries he did where the pouch actually starts to grow back to hook onto other parts of your body and they have to disconnect it and things like that. So I'm like, okay. When I challenged him, he agreed. I felt like, it's your mess, clean it up. I literally went through the same process. It probably took 2 weeks for my insurance to get approved. And another thing, let me tell you this, if you need a reversal, there is still no code for reversals. So they have to bill it as an intestinal surgery and they have to bill it as a stomach surgery. And that's important to know if you're going through the process waiting for a reversal, okay? And that's how I was able to get it paid for. So these are things that you want to ask, that you want to know. You're going to go through the same process if you have to get a reversal. Like, I'll never forget my gastric bypass doctor after I woke up and I was in my room. And let me tell you, I felt like $1 million, like I could go run a marathon because my sugars were stable. And I said to him, oh my God, I felt like alive. And he said, tapped my leg and just said, oh honey, once you get fat again, come back and I'll give you a sleeve. Because that was another thing. He tried to talk me into doing a sleeve. And I said, no, I just want my digestive tract back. So that was 2013 and we were in 2023 and I am still under my weight loss goal. Okay. I went up and down 5-10 pounds here over the last 10 years, but I've controlled it. I want you to know that I have everlasting complications. About a year later, my bariatric hypoglycemia came back. But let me tell you, the thing that fixed it, that reversal, because I can control it now. I have the control through my diet. So I eat just like I did as a patient. I eat high protein, I eat sugar-free, I eat healthy fats, and low carb. I instantly know when I'm giving something that I can't. I don't do any caffeine because it makes your sugar go low. I'm able to work out again. I'm able to have a job. I've had a job for years now. I'm able to drive. I literally got my life back. And I want you guys to know what to expect before you go in. The cold-hearted, honest truth of what happens to probably 30 to 40% of us. Not one. Okay. The last study I saw for bariatric hypoglycemia had switched to where it wasn't 1% anymore, and it was at like 35%, I think, 37, something around there. So yeah. So I will be doing up a few updated videos, get them posted, do some research, see how things are kind of going in the bariatric world. And I will see you guys around. Remember, if you're looking for a support group because you have complications or anything that has to do with gastric bypass, come on over. Gastric bypass, takedowns, and reverse support, and we'll be there to help you. All right, see you guys later.